When Marvel calls you on the phone, you go. You do the things they ask you to. Or at least I do, yeah.
I really enjoyed the movie. It was not what I expected at all.
Okay.
And Ben, I read that at first you kind of maybe didn't understand your character, Josh, or the script. What was your way into the character in conversations with Jason?
Quiet desperation. The mundane repetition of being a person in a skin suit who has all the markers of comfort and feels a vacuous black hole inside of them that he won't recognize until an event happens and he is stirred and becomes obsessive rather than self-reflective.
That's very relatable. I too would describe myself in that way. Rachel, on the other hand, is kind of a grounding force, though she does not necessarily save Josh from himself.
Yes.
But a lot of her, feelings are about the feelings of her son and her husband. Mm-hmm. So how did you approach her and her interiority outside of that?
Yeah, I think it was, I think it's hard to prepare for a character that is surprised by something, and luckily I got to be on set with Ben, and we got to sort of explore this relationship in a happier place. And then it was a lot of my time was spent sort of watching and analyzing my husband on set and just kind of say, like, what is happening, and just constant examining in each scene, because I think that happens a lot in marriages. You go in thinking, okay, this is it. We're married, and this is what I signed up for, and you're like this, and I'm like this, and we stay like this forever, and we're good, right? And then, as people do, evolve and change, and I think this is an extreme version of that. Mm-hmm. And so she's sort of watching this metamorphosis happen, and can't really do much, or could probably do more, in all honesty, but because they have this child, that's where her focus and her drive goes.
Yeah. Speaking of the child, Will was great.
And great.
Yes, and it's so interesting to see each of your different dynamics with him. Mm. How did you kind of approach that parental dynamic on set as the character, and then off set with him as a family?
Well, Cobie, Will, and I would just spend time together, in particular building these marble structures. So we had an activity and a build, and we just hung out. And it creates a shorthand and hopefully a safe way to be together. For some of the more complicated places that we go within the material, I think we have the good fortune of some downtime just to hang out with the kiddo.
Yeah, for sure.
That was important to us. By the way, I still owe you money for the
TIFF, for the marble set?
For the marble set.
Yeah.
We'll square up later.
So Venmo me later.
I'll Venmo.
The crash scenes are really visceral.
Yeah.
What was it like to be there on set on the day? Like, what does that look like from an acting perspective?
Well, it was funny because watching it, I mean, I think I wasn't really a part of any of the crashes. Like you dove in, but I was there. We spent a lot of time with the initial one because it was such a starting point of the madness. Mm-hmm. So the wheel coming through the window was a thing to figure out. But I think, like Rachel, I was sort of spared the real violence, and she didn't really want to engage in it at all, as opposed to her husband.
And for her husband, do you think that this marriage could have survived without that first crash, or were you always on this collision course?
It's a great question of can a relationship survive without an inciting event? It seems that everyone grows at their own rate, and they are at a particular inflection point in the relationship, and this becomes a catalyst that disrupts it. So in short answer, hard to say. I do believe they're working on two different wavelengths. And there is a line early on in that first scene before the first accident, which very subtly, and to Jason Buxton, our writer-director's credit, wrote it so with such austerity, which is, we should do this more often, which suggests there hasn't been intimacy in a long time. And that keyed in, and it's a brief but sweet moment of careful, kind, hopeful longing, a desire to reconnect, and maybe in other circumstances they could have found healing, but not this rodeo.
Cobie, when I see you, I think of how angry it makes me that Maria Hill was killed off in Secret Nation.
Oh, I'm sorry that I bring that up for you.
It has been in my life. I know you've voiced in Moon Girl and Double Dinosaur.
Yes.
Would you come back in the flesh if they correct their horrible mistake?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. When Marvel calls you on the phone, you go. You do the things they ask you to. Or at least I do, yeah.
As you should. And you mentioned rodeos, which reminds me, 310 to Yuma has just come to Netflix, and is hailed as one of the greatest modern westerns. You were also in Hell or High Water, so you're kind of like a king of modern westerns right now. What is a duke?
That's a really long title to have.
Baron. I want to be a Baron, Ben Foster.
What do you like best about diving into that kind of world?
I dig the West. I love road trips. I live in the South. I love driving through the countries of America, and I'm drawn to the stark nature of man against landscape, and what will you do to survive? Those are questions I think we all ask.
Yeah. I love that. No one has stopped me. So I'll just say this is Jason's second feature film, but he seems to have like a really specific vision. Right? He seems much more experienced than I would have thought he was much more experienced than he is. What was it like for you on set with him, both collaborating with him?
He was wonderful. He was extremely collaborative, and I think he gives us a lot of freedom, and I think he was very smart to just let it roll on Ben, who's just so freaking talented, and there are moments in this movie that I find myself laughing so hard at, and it's not supposed to be funny.
Laughing with or laughing at?
Laughing with and at,
and
like
near.
Yes, and near. But that he has an amazing instinct, obviously, right? And to allow that sort of. Just to allow us to play and feel the confidence to give us that is, I think, unique to doing a film for the second time.
Well, thank you both so much.
Thank you so much.
I really enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you.